Brian, I'm sure is close by, but he's not until item 13, so we've got a quorum. And brings us to item 2. Any comments from the public? Nope. Item 3 is consider an act on request for adjustments or relief from charges imposed by the district. Janie, okay, thank you very much. Consent agenda items 4 through 7. Routine. Check of the minutes, approval of the minutes, financial reports, tax collector's report. Approval of attending and expensing water agency business. Any questions, comments?
Looks good.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Thank you. Item 8, receive and act on staff information regarding the upcoming MCAD Board of Directors election.
No specific action, but wanted to, it was on all the MUDs agendas in case one of the previous MUDs didn't take action, but the first MUD did, but Metro MUD took action to basically take the first step in the process of nominating an individual for the MCAD board. Metro MUD took action to participate in the upcoming election. That's the first step. Then the expectation presumably would be that they would then nominate an individual. In this case, it would be Arthur Bredehoff, who's on the MCAD board now under the ISD position. He would be asking for nomination in the June meeting for the special districts position. And so that action was taken. So I think he will be coming to the MUDs to ask for support in the future, but no action to that. More information.
Good. Questions or comments on that MCAD board position? But item 9, SJRA report, Chris Meeks and Ed Shackelford.
I do not have anything of a general nature. I would say the operations report for Woodland ERP, everything's relatively normal. If you have any questions, I can go through those, but if you do not have any questions, I'm gonna pass it over to Ed, who's gonna cover some of the bulleted items before he passes it to Haley to cover the budget.
I have one question. At last week's Woodlands Water Agency trustee meeting, we had one former MUD member comment about, well, gee, the Conroe wastewater treatment plant only cost this much, and we're talking about spending, quite a bit more than that on the redo of wastewater treatment plant 1 here. So how do you respond to that? Because you're going to get more of those kinds of comments.
So GRP's plan, what I believe, please correct me, Don, if you recall, I believe GRP's plan was about 220 million for a 30 million gallon a day plant, roughly. The wastewater plant 1 at 7.8 MGD, I think it's about 215, 220 million. Difference is GRP was actually went through design and everything else. Right now, the Woodlands is still at 100,000 foot view where it's just kind of very, very rough. I fully expect that number to come down quite a bit.
There you go. Created a memo that further explained a few more things too.
Oh, what about the level? Yeah, the quality, whatever they built, what is the technology they implemented as opposed to what we're doing? What are the apples
Good.
to apples and apples to oranges kind of comparison?
You guys put a memo together on that.
There is a memo.
If you just refer to that, but you're also phase 2, part of that is a benchmarking exercise, right?
Correct.
So, but you're really doing apples and oranges comparison right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I don't have that memo. Is that,
It was in, we can get it to Eric.
is it in the water agency packet from last week?
Not from this week. I believe it was in either March or
I
April.
think it was in the April packet.
I want to just keep that in those packets for a while, because I have a feeling it's going to keep coming up.
Bring some copies with it.
Maybe even
Yeah, but we can.
maybe even update it as you get new information. Just have that kind of be a regular thing that you guys include since it's gonna be a hot topic.
One of the biggest things was Conroe's plant was bid in 2019 before all the inflation increased.
That's huge.
So
It's very important. Yeah.
and a totally different technology, conventional versus advanced, but yeah, we can get copies of that and update it as needed.
I think that'd be good. Sorry. Okay, Ed, you had something you wanted to?
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about Bear Branch Dam rehabilitation. Y'all will remember this was a project that was approved to go forward with a while back. And let's see, you all are part of it, so I'm gonna work my way around this. Bear Branch, Panther Branch Drainage Project that MUD 67 acquired all the funding for, and you all are helping pay for some of those services. They're doing a modeling of Bear and Panther Branch. Out of that will come a recommendation on what to do with the spillway at Bear Branch Dam. Modifications or the rehabilitation includes the modification to the spillway, but also to replace 1 foot of the soil cement that's degraded over time. So that project, once we get the modeling results, preliminary engineering will start along about October 1st of this year and move forward. This is also the same project that Congressman Crenshaw has gotten the MUD's $3.6 million of federal funds to help defray most of the costs. So we'll go through preliminary engineering, final design with the idea that construction will start along about spring of 2025. So that's the update. The Bear Branch low flow vault lid replacement on page 61 is the update on that project. Contractor's almost done. This is where we were replacing the lid with a more secure lid. So that work is nearing completion. And then the monitoring report from David Sidney is on page 62, giving you kind of an update of some of the activities that they've encountered out there based on their weekly inspection. You can see that, of course, some of this was during the time that the LPGA tournament was going on. So you can read through that and kind of see what all is going on. And then finally, on page 64 and 65, for the Bear Branch, Panther Branch modeling projects. They are 13% complete on invoicing, about 40% complete on the project. I have seen the existing model, the existing condition model. They're tweaking it to make certain it is reacting like it's supposed to based on how the historical rains have occurred. And then they will start moving forward with new post modeling that includes the Atlas 14 new rainfall events, rainfall statistics, and also start looking at what improvements could be made to lower the water surface water elevation, water surface elevation, their research force, and Bear Branch. And unless you have questions, I'm prepared to.
I've got a question on page 61, going back to the two estimates.
Yeah.
They were quite different. That
Right.
really surprised me. Did it surprise you guys? And do you know what's going on there, or is there?
Well, those bids were taken back in March. So we went with the low bid, King Construction. One had a different view of the project than the other.
Yeah, I mean, is that much variation typical in your industry, in the industry? That's almost twice.
Correct. From one perspective, and I don't mean for this to be flippant, one wanted the job a little harder than the other one did, or the other one didn't want it at all.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, is that?
And contractors are doing that something if they're really that busy.
Yes.
And Miller does a lot of work for us in other arenas. Plus, I think they do some work for Willow's.
Yeah, the other part is Key Construction's a concrete contractor, Mallard is a general. So Keene has people that do exactly the job. Obviously Mallard has a little bit of everything.
Almost sounds like Mallard just did a courtesy reply
He probably would have hired King to come, because they partner on some.
They do.
on the concrete.
He
So
would probably hired King to come in and do concrete.
I'm glad we got such a good deal, according to Mallard. Okay,
Other questions? Thank you all, and here's Bailey.
I do have a presentation if y'all don't mind, not getting blinded and parting ways a little bit. Yeah, don't mind.
What?
Things-
Is it in the packet?
It is in the packet.
Can we just go by the packet?
You can.
What page do we start on?
We're on page 46. 47.
Well, good. We back up to 37 since we're going through the package, just to kind of explain I'll explain a couple things you have in here. So on page 37, it's a one-page summary of the budget. So it pulls everything Kayla's going to say together, clear, concise, hopefully on one page. Following that, on pages 39 through 45, that's the actual budget itself. That's a line item budget for the operating budget, the North Fund. Capacity that some of us are paying into, and so on. So as she's referencing summary information in her presentation, that's detailed information's on page 39. Sorry about those.
No, that's
so
good.
you want to start our questions on page 37, or you want us to wait until you get further in?
You could ask them whenever, but if you want to wait till the presentation, if something that maybe directly ties, that might be answered by the presentation. But if you have a question.
Yeah, so.
feel free to ask.
So I really like page 37. It's a nice setup page, good stuff. We had asked in the past, kind of give us the basis for what's setting the budget. One question I had on page 37 was water loss. I didn't see this addressed later on. I mean, going from 9 to 5.5 is pretty significant. But it wasn't clear what the driver is for that or what enables that. Is that just the smart meters?
A large, very large portion, if not all of it's going to be the smart meters. We've done minor things on our side, like tank flushings, where we've kind of cycled them a little bit, got a little bit more precise. But it's not going to cause that. When we look back over the past rolling 12 months, every month it kind of ticked down a little bit, and it coincided with the more AMI meters that were installed across the system.
So we don't think we were actually losing water. We just weren't accounting for it as we sold it.
Correct. In the definition of water loss, it's strictly what I sold versus what I produced. But correct, it went through the meter is what we believe, it just unbilled.
You're pretty confident. I mean, that's a big impact to the budget.
We looked at-
You think the data really supports the 5.5?
That was the forecast. When we were going through the process of getting the automated, the AMI meters, we were told,
Specification.
expect a huge
That was
increase.
One of
Yeah,
the selling points, right?
right.
And it-
We would be
you know,
able to bill more water because they're more accurate meters. And a
And it's
lot of
not
meters.
just here. I mean, anywhere they've been put in, most systems have seen that response.
Mhm.
Presentation start on page 48. This is the first slide we're going to look at. I guess before I do this slide, just a reminder, all this is for your information tonight. And y'all's vote will be July, and then the trustees vote is August to approve our rates. So this is for your information tonight. And then we also have a meeting Thursday night. That'll go into more detail if you're interested in that. So let Summer know, I believe. RSVPs on that. So with that being said, since this is for your information, we'll go through the presentation here. When we're looking at our budget and figuring out how we want to start and things that we're considering, there are a number of things we consider, but this slide shows the main kind of categories we look at, which is our sales and our demands, which is what we just talked about, and adjusting how much we think we can produce and how much we think we will sell of that production as far as water goes and wastewater. The water sales is going to have an adjustment this year from the 9% water loss to the 5.5, as we just talked about. The wastewater, we did not make any adjustments to the demands that we would sell there. So the next thing that we look at is our cost increases. There's a number of things that we're seeing last year that we're also seeing this year with chemicals, sludge hauling, our electricity, payroll, all going up. The last item on here is the public communications consultant. So because we have these large projects coming up in the Woodlands, we were asked to help with getting a consultant to help get that education out to everybody. So that's doing our budget. The project plan and the transfer needed to fund our project plan for R&R. We look at our project plan and decide what can be funded through R&R, and from there determine how much we need every year to keep that plan going. We are keeping that steady at 6 million for fiscal year 24. Then the last thing we consider, but the last thing high level here that we consider is our blend ratio. So we are keeping the blend ratio 50-50 for FY 24, which is the same as 23. So that's 50% groundwater and 50% surface water for FY 24. So on the next page, we've been asked to look at some items in our budget, and they're still in our budget. The USGS stream gauges there's 7 in the Woodlands, and this contract is not going to be renewed in FY 24 under the Woodlands budget. So we are removing that out of our contract, but we'll see the 6250 in the budget as that is because the contract doesn't end just because our fiscal year ends. So we are keeping it for the 1 month to finish out that contract. So,
We're good with not continuing those gauges.
so we are continuing the gauges. It's just the.
We aren't paying for them.
Oh, I like that.
That's right.
Somebody else is gonna pay for them, so we still get the data if we need it.
That's great.
So the next thing that we were looking at is the lobbyist. The lobbyist is on our fiscal year 24 budget for the first 4 months, because that does get us to the end of the contract. So that one is going to be in the budget for 40,000. Next page here. This page is kind of the summary categories from the first packet that Chris was talking about. This in the packet is our draft budget. This is some of the summary categories just for your reference during the presentation. So, on to the next one with our operating reserve. This is kind of just to remind y'all of our operating reserve and the requirements that we have. That's part of our contract with all of the MUDs to keep our 3 months of our expenses in an operating reserve account, so that something happens or don't get money that we're expecting to get, the sales, whatever it is, we have cash on hand to take care of those things. So for the 3 months for FY 24, it'll be going up to 5.6 million. From the 5.3, so you will see in the operating budget a operating reserve contribution amount, and the other cash sources, other cash source usage section for a little over 200,000, and that's what that is. It's to fund our operating reserve since our expenses are going up, and our operating reserve is fully funded as of now for FY 23. So, I like there. So on to the next page with the water and sewer demands. On this page, the main focus is this chart that's over in the right-hand corner. We took our rate to figure out why our rate is going up and to break down the components of what's causing that. The water loss savings that you see on there, that's the negative 23 cents. Because we changed our water loss percent and we're able to sell more of our water that we're producing, we're getting a benefit of 23 cents on the rate of that, but our expenses are still going up. And because our expenses are going up, 28 cents to the rate. But that's netted to the 5 cent to the rate for water. And so as you can see, it's a 2% increase to water and wastewater. But this chart kind of shows you what's driving that change. And the other thing to kind of point out is the water loss savings is not going to be an annual benefit there. You know, the water loss may stay the same, but the benefit is not going to be changed. Okay. Any questions so far?
And even though your sales are going up because of the reduced loss, your production's being held constant. Is
Yeah.
that blue line constant or close to constant?
Yes. Got the production, it's a little math rounding error from last year to this year, but it's essentially the same number. So onto the next slide with chemicals here. This is one of the things that we're seeing go up. And we do buy our chlorine by the ton. Our contract with that vendor is April to April, and we were at 17.47 per ton. And now we're at 2,300 or so. So they did raise our price $500 per ton.
I had just a curiosity question. Is the chlorine, the chart seems to be tracking just chlorine.
Yes.
But over on the right, we have a number and a percentage, and it then notes that all the chemicals together, are they all, is that, we just didn't do the other chemistry, or is it all?
No, we chose to do chlorine as just a graph, just because it was an easy kind of graph to
Yeah.
put together based
I
on.
mean, has all those other polymer and everything else risen like in the same way, or?
So chlorine and sulfur dioxide generally trend together.
So there's been pretty much those two.
Pretty much the same, but chlorine is the driving force because sulfur dioxide is only used at the 3 wastewater plants.
Right.
Whereas chlorine is used at all 5 water plants plus the 3 wastewater plants.
Yeah.
So in all cases, chlorine is the driving force.
So it's the main driver for,
It is. The polymer is pretty much consistent. Polymer usually increases when oil prices go up. Then we have smaller chemicals after that. This is driving.
right.
There was a chlorine manufacturing plant that blew up or caught fire or something a couple years ago. Is that ever coming back online, or is it always gonna be high like this?
Comes back online, but you know, once we get accustomed to this price, they're probably gonna keep it there.
Yeah,
To be honest.
Go lower on that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, this is, I mean, my guess is this is not supply chain related to the plant being offline. This is basis change based upon
Inflation.
inflation, overall inflation with hydrocarbon costs going up, energy costs.
Ain't do without it.
And the details, page 40's got the other chemicals, the polymers and the.
Thank you.
So moving on to the next, with our staffing here. So that's the other thing that we look at annually to do our budget is our staffing needs, and if they are appropriate. Do we need more? Do we need less in certain areas? And for this next year, we are decreasing our FTE for direct FTEs in the Woodlands, and then we're increasing our indirect FTEs. The next slide goes over a little bit more why and what area. But the other thing that we looked at with staffing is our salaries assumptions. We did a 4% assumption for merit and promotions and a 2% inflationary adjustment for the cost of living. So on the next slide here, it does go over the change in our FTEs in each of these areas for each indirect area and our direct for Woodlands, which is Woodlands is the direct one down there at the bottom. And it just shows why we are needing more staff or less staff and what adjustments in different areas. The main driver is, of course, the project plans we have coming up in the Woodlands is going to take more engineering staff than accounting staff to make those things happen. So there's no questions on that. Keep going. So the other thing that we talked about in the beginning is our electricity is going up. If you look on here, the utilities with our electric is going up 760,000 or so on here. And it is a 25% increase from last year. We did receive direction to do 10% over our historical cost. So we are over budget this year on electricity. So we're trending to be over budget. So that's why it's 25%, not 10% from that direction. So moving on to the next one here. This slide is taken from the operating budget. This is the first 3 pages of the draft budgets in your packet. And we went through and we tried to add, we have added here a description of the line items that had a variance that exceeded $20,000 positive or negative change, and a 20% change year from last year to this year, to add a little bit of detail there on those kind of larger line item changes.
I really like the table on 57. Question on the software support, which is a big increase. What's DWS?
Digital water system.
Digital water system, which is what?
That is a software.
Business intelligence. It's essentially everything we do on Excel, and it's Microsoft Power BI. And we have all these modeling softwares, GIS, all these different softwares that kind of talk to each other. The digital water is the one that sits on top of all of them, pulls the key information so we can actually analyze what we're looking for from each of them.
Like an accounting system for water?
Is it tied to your SCADA or just more of a planning tool?
And when I say it's tied to the SCADA, it gets data from SCADA because it's cloud-based, right? And so if somebody breaks into Microsoft Power BI and gets into the digital water, they're not going to get into
Your account.
anything else. So it just pulls data from the cloud.
Thank you.
So then the last slide is just looking at our rates again that we are proposing. And the chart there is again just a reference on how we came up to this rate and what are the components that got us there. So the rate that we are proposing to get a vote on is $2.78 for water and $5.65 for wastewater.
I'll just add, you want to talk to GRP real quick since.
Oh, the code sheet. Yes. I can make that. So the GRP rate is staying flat from FY23 to FY24. So you'll see that in the budget, the fees that we have to pay to buy our water from them there's a slight change, but it's because of that minimal change in our production. It's not because of the change in the fee that we're charging. So we still are buying our groundwater at $2.99 and our surface water at $3.41. And the blended rate that we're charging y'all is still at $3.20. Anything else? Okay. Well, then with that, I don't have anything else for y'all. Y'all have any other questions?
That's about a 2% increase. Does that mean our customers ought to see a 2% increase?
Not always. I don't know if you're.
I know that's not a HARA question necessarily.
Over there yet, in terms of what the resale rates for the looking at. Not there yet, no.
I'll be evaluating that in the next months to come.
But we ought to be close, right? I mean, we shouldn't be, retail rates went up 20% and these only went up 2%. We'd be suspicious. So.
I can imagine it would be 10 times the increase. Yeah, that would raise
Be
eyebrows.
troubling.
We don't have as many moving parts.
Yeah, but this is encouraging. I mean, if you look at where we are from an economic standpoint, we deliver to our customers,
2% when inflation's been higher.
Yeah. I mean, we could be the opportunity to come in below inflation. All driven by the meter.
Probably was more than that last year. Exactly.
Last year was a very large increase. It's the only double digit we've ever had. 12 and 15% something.
So we got hit last year, but
Yeah, I mean, the 458 to 553 was the big hit last year. So So maybe we've already paid the inflation bank already. Yeah, nice job.
Thank you. Anything else?
So
Thursday's
Thursday?
meeting will be more detailed on this.
Yeah.
Will mainly be Q and A, or will you have more presentation material to go over?
A slightly presentation that covers most of the same things, but a few extra slides in certain areas. That I'll give, and then we'll have Q&A after that. I think the extra good says 30 minutes of presentation.
right. So only the fee report on page 60 is the kind of the one page you're talking about Thursday.
Yeah.
We're gonna cover the project plan. I have a presentation for about 30 minutes and 30 minutes of Q&A, or 15 minutes and 45 minutes of Q&A. And then the same with Haley, about 30 minutes of presentation, 30 minutes of questions.
Our sticking RSVPs if you will let her know you're coming, so we have to share, so. All I have.
Good job, guys. Thank you.
I said, what do you think? Okay.
All right, let's move on to item 10. Give an update regarding status of Bear Branch and Panther Branch, research forest drainage improvements.
That's what I mentioned to y'all on page 61 and 62. I believe.
Okay, so we've already done. Thank you. Okay, anything new on the Spring Creek detention study, item 11?
No, we had a public meeting.
Yeah.
We still have to schedule another progress meeting. And so we have that information. I'll share that with the stakeholders.
Thank you. Brings us to item 12. This is issue that we brought up a couple of months ago. Last month, Paul and I met with John Geiger, and we got a whole bunch of templates of what other mud districts have done. Here you can see mud 36, different versions of it, mud 60, different versions of it, mud 47. And so basically, went through multiple different examples of what other muds were doing and came up with this one. It's a little bit different, I would say, than all the others. I tried not to lock ourselves into, this is a spring update or a beginning of the year update or any particular time. This way we can issue these whenever we have new information that we feel like needs to get out. One thing that some other muds are doing is they're actually putting their emails up there by their names where all the board members are listed. We can do that if you guys want to do it.
I need some more emails, yeah.
I know. The other way to think about this is we have the info at Woodlands Water here where people can send their inquiries directly into the staff, which you guys are probably better equipped to handle those, at least on the front end. And then, website information, phone numbers, all that. You got these QR codes where you can scan for different reports or for the link to the WaterSmart portal. If anybody have any recent accomplishments or information, stuff that's already happened that you'd like to add to the list of announced items, we don't have a whole lot more room, but.
Do a smaller font.
No, not for our population. This is.
Yeah, speak for yourself. Some of us are.
I've always been, there's one word stuck out of me, it's sewer. I've always been partial to wastewater.
That's a
over-
good point,
over
'cause-
sewer.
Used to be the sewer department and I wasn't real proud of that one either, so it became a wastewater division, right? I think that's an updated word, yeah.
Yeah, I support that. Well, we're wordsmithing.
Okay, well, let me see. I don't know that wastewater is gonna fit without moving into our QR code.
No, on the top.
Top.
Up top at the top.
the very top, the statement, the greeting.
Where you-
Yeah, that would
That'll
be easy.
work there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
Got plenty
Sewer,
of
sewer infrastructure, I agree with. That's the pipes that carry.
storm sewer too, though.
Yeah, storm sewer too. Yeah.
Wastewater.
I think we just changed that
All
word.
right, we'll change that one word.
So on that top text there, there's nothing about cost effectiveness or, good stewards of money or anything.
You know what, there was, okay.
That's our mission.
Yeah, I think another one had affordable, and I thought, well, that's kind of relative,
Yeah.
so. Cost effective, cost efficient. I agree with you. We can add something like
Yeah,
that.
cost effective.
Because, we're not trying to do this with, gold plating it.
Just adding another line.
But you got room.
Yeah.
That's something so that,
Something along the lines of
I
efficiency,
mean,
cost
because you
effective.
talk about the tax valuation.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that's economic. I think having an economic component of our overriding thing is,
Let me wordsmith that with John, and assuming we replace wastewater and add some sort of efficiency or low cost or what lowest cost.
efficient, I mean, lowest cost, man, then you get in, I mean, just ask yourself for, somebody's gonna come back and say,
It's hard to quantify,
sorry,
I mean, it's easy for the Carlton Woods people to afford it, right? But it maybe not
yeah,
for.
don't go affordable, that's a
Yeah, I
bad.
agree. That's what somebody else had, and that's why I took it out, because it's too, that's affordable for some, maybe not for others. Okay, what else? Paul, anything?
We can just put questions, contact Don at this email address.
I mean, you could put a comment on the bottom, feedback welcome. I mean, I can't believe I'd be shocked if 10 people would reply. But, this is the community engagement, right? We're trying to make it.
Yeah.
I think we're trying to make it a two-way street. If somebody had a complaint we'd like to know about. What do we, I mean, so you could put, look, you could put,
You don't mind putting your email address?
I mean,
No, conceptually, I agree.
I mean, you could even put something on there about, monthly meetings. Or
Think about that,
they're open meetings, anybody can
Right.
come, okay? I mean, I think over the near term, it's to be our advantage to get as much engagement as we can, even if it causes some extra
Right.
pain initially, but when they start seeing what we're asking as far as, tax things and the major revamps, if we created some sort of communication port beforehand, I mean, we're not trying to be secret about anything. Right, are we?
Well, these mud meetings they're not live streamed, but they are available so there's a lot that we can add in that. How do you feel about making another update, in 6 months or whatever, and announce about our meetings or second Tuesday of every month at 4:30? You can pull it up online and live stream. I feel like there's a lot more stuff we could add along that.
If you want to do just a little short, see the website for meeting minutes and,
Well, let's ask John, how much more room do we have room for more bullet points on this one, or what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where would we add
I
it?
think you've done a good job hitting white space. It's nice. But I can monkey with some things. And I do think it would be a good idea to invite comment input via info or attendance at my meeting. Because
One of the QR codes pulled to the website that shows when the meetings are,
exactly, right to the web page.
either a different one or within one of those, but I don't know where they.
either.
Yep.
That's pretty straightforward, though. I mean, it's every second Tuesday, right?
But you could, in the recent accomplishments, you could highlight, we're now posting video of our
That's true.
meeting, right?
Good.
That would be, I mean, we're trying to improve transparency.
Mhm.
I just think that's.
Okay,
This is the same.
what if we, John, what if we scoot this line up a little bit underneath the chart, giving you more room under that looking forward and maybe make a last bullet, slide all that up, make a last bullet that says meetings recorded meetings available at woodlandswater.net or whatever, put the URL. Or, monthly meetings every Tuesday at second Tuesday of the month at 4:30, recordings available online.
Yeah, I'd almost do it
Second
under
Tuesday
recent
after-
accomplishments. Put it under recent
I
accomplishments
think
and
that's what
say,
I did.
now posting video
Not always the second.
recordings of our meeting,
It works either way.
The 20% homestead exemption, was that an increase? Or was it,
I think it was 15%, wasn't it?
we just did the same?
I thought we went to, everybody went to 20 together. I remember
Mhm.
that. I don't, there were a few districts maybe that stair stepped, but I know we all went to 20 a few years back. And we,
I would maintain a better word rather than adopted.
well, each year
We
you
did.
adopt it,
Yeah.
but you're right. It's
I don't know
maintained,
when.
but I mean, it's something that MUDs definitely need to give themselves credit for in the Woodlands because it's exceedingly rare for MUDs to grant a homestead exemption.
It seems to say we did that for 2023. That's why I was asking. There was a change from prior years.
So we just put maintain instead of adopted, we'd be okay. For recent accomplishment.
Or let's look when it was. I mean, it is relatively recent that went up again. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years.
It's been at least 2 or 3 years. When we first did the 20% homestead exemption. 3 or 4 years. Because we had a structural problem with one of the MUDs with the budget. So that's been, 3 or 4 years at least.
Okay, one of the MUDs had that under their 2022 accomplishments.
Six.
So however y'all want to do it, legally you adopt it. And when on your resolution, it's you
That's what,
adopt.
okay, MUD 60 said adopted. On their 2022 highlights and accomplishments. Adopted homestead exemption, blah, blah, blah.
Also on the value discussion earlier, the mission statement says fiscal integrity. I don't know if that helps with what you're trying to accomplish at the top. The WWA mission statement says we provide water services with fiscal integrity. I don't know if that's what you're going for.
I think we're doing more on efficient. Integrity means the numbers are reported accurately and you're accounting for everything. You could still be gold plating everything.
Yeah, I just heard something.
Well, you could, I mean,
The language here for that Chris showed me that y'all have in your draft. You adopted a 20% homestead exemption of 20%. And you also adopted an exemption of 20,000, I think it was $20,000 of disabled folks who are over 65. Those are two separate exemptions. This kind of blends it as though it were one.
I thought there was something we did there. I think that was it.
Yeah, the over 65 and disabled is on top of the 20% residential homestead exemption, and that's a dollar amount. Is it 20,000 still?
I think
And that was new
they are.
or no?
Well, you had it, my sheet here's from 21, but I think I did the same thing in 22,
Yeah, they're 20,000.
23. Okay.
So how should that read? 20,000 exemption?
Plus 20,000 for disabled and age 65 or older. Something like that.
I think there's so much 20,000.
All right, so there's a little bit of wordsmithing. We're gonna add change sewer to wastewater in that initial thing. We're gonna add a word, John, you can think about this, having to do with efficient pricing, efficient costs, cost effective, something like that. In that little blurb about high quality, reliable, et cetera. We want to get our wording right on this homestead exemption and age 65 and disabled exemption. So we want to get that wording nailed down. And let's look at where it makes the most sense, but let's put another bullet point on when our meetings are and where they can find the recordings of the meetings. And I think that will cover pretty much everybody's comments and suggestions.
We got two.
Okay.
Current tax rate, is that 2022 or is that 2023?
Have not adopted. That won't be taken.
That's today.
So that's the 2022 bar line. Okay. On the last part, you've got, looking forward, consider implementation. Would you consider making that a little harder, like planning to implement? Make this,
We're gonna have a discussion about it tonight. We've had on this Vertex One software is really expensive and, but it's supposed to do a lot of magic. And so I wasn't comfortable putting
okay,
any more firm.
so we're not, if we're still soft on it, why does it need to be on here?
Maybe it's not this software package, maybe it's another one. But I think the desire is to go to a better, more, a better software package that integrates with the water smart billing and,
Okay, we put something more proactive in like working to implement or identify a new system. Consider just sounds really soft to me.
This is a list of accomplishments.
I was looking forward.
how would you like to characterize it? If we're not considering it, what are we doing? Evaluating?
Evaluating.
Evaluating the implementation of.
We're hoping to move something. We want to
Hoping
come,
and praying.
I know hope isn't a plan, okay? But I mean, we want to communicate to the people that we're trying to do something that's going to be good for them.
That's what I was trying to say.
I mean, that's what considering says, is that's what we're,
Evaluating and considering implementation. I mean,
just considering or evaluating a more efficient.
Yeah, okay. You convinced me, considering it's fine, okay. The next one, review and improve long-range and sewer infrastructure improvements. So
I think that's a mistake.
the second and,
Yeah, something's wrong with that wording.
Review and.
that might be the question, were there
Water,
long-range projects and
water
sewer
and
projects?
sewer?
I mean,
Water and sewer?
No sewer.
well,
No water
long-range
and
is
wastewater.
timing and sewer is pipe. So I didn't, the and
Yeah, that's a mistake.
didn't seem like it.
Water and
It
wastewater.
would make sense that it's water.
Or you could just call it infrastructure.
You could call it all.
Well, what I had in there was long-range water and sewer infrastructure improvements. So that would be like replacing the old.
Yeah, okay.
AC
Then water and
pipe.
sewer are complementary
Yes.
together by and.
It should be water and sewer, John. I left that word out.
They're both long range.
Mhm. Could be long range, long term, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, these are long life items that are wearing out that we're trying to upgrade and replace.
Always water there too.
Thanks for being patient.
Well, it's not, I mean, if it's because it's the plants, that's
What about
what,
the storm sewer?
well,
Oh, but I mean, really, this is wastewater treatment plant 1 replacement, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. So that's why I would say wastewater there.
Water and wastewater.
Water sewer pipe.
Sewer was just
wastewater.
conduits, I'd say sewer.
You got, I mean, there's the potential they're gonna run a whole new gravity line from plant 2 to plant 1.
That's all part of
That's
wastewater.
wastewater. Sewer I think of as conduits, underground conduits.
Right. Pipes.
What is a pipe that goes from one plant to
But
another?
we're talking here about the wastewater plant as well.
Pipes and the wastewater, right?
Yeah,
The wastewater plant isn't
covers both.
included in the term sewer.
I think you could probably solve it by just saying water and wastewater infrastructure.
Or just say long range.
Wastewater could be sewer, it could be plant, it could be.
Stormwater.
John, do you think you can fit, if we change sewer to wastewater, can you fit it without screwing up the spacing? All right,
Or just
changing it to wastewater.
Is there a means of distributing this to the individual members without violating open meetings and get some consensus before we gather again and find 10 new things?
Wait, what?
Well, I mean, if we wait till, if we just bring a new one to us, then there's gonna be more. Well, I really think you should have said this or that. I'm just asking if we can get you and John to finish the document and send it out to us without reply all, and just see if we all have, you know, that it's fixed to our satisfaction. That way, when we come back, we just vote.
You can put it as a draft in the packet.
We can vote as amended, or we can wait another month until
We
we
can vote.
amend it.
As a minute, I'm ready.
I'm ready. That's
Right.
Yeah.
I'm ready to just empower you guys to do it. You got our feedback.
At this point, we've got your feedback and it's gonna be really close, you know, within
Close to what we said.
within a few letters of what we just discussed.
So I make that motion that we.
Okay, we got a motion to accept this info,
As,
mail out / email as adjusted through our conversation today.
Second.
Got a second? In favor, say aye.
uh,
Aye. Any opposed?
thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for the work.
All right. Thanks for the feedback and input. I think it will be better.
Yeah.
As a result.
And you guys, when you send it out, you're sending out to the email on record for the accounts, is that right?
I'll be done with the other ones. I was thinking email and an insert in whatever ones are mailed out.
Chosen to do both. That would
Okay.
be my recommendation.
Can you send a copy to the directors?
Absolutely.
I may be unique, but my wife gets our building stuff, and I'd like to see it not depend on her to say, hey, what's this? Okay.
Just so you know, the list that I use is the same one that we use for our weekly irrigation email. So
Yeah.
are you getting that?
She is.
She is. I'll make sure.
Just for the record, John's been super helpful in this process.
Nice job, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, good.
Right. Brings us to item 13 and the attorney's report. So we'll skip that till Brian comes back and go to the general manager's report number 14.
All right, thank you. Good evening. Just a couple highlights from my report. Wanted to point out the annual hydrant audit and flushing program was complete, and we're addressing some of the issues that were pointed out for the hydrants. I did want to point your attention to page 75. There is a resident called it in, a pretty significant washout of a structure, drop structure. It's located essentially on the southwest corner of the map there of the district, in the green, right in that corner. There's two ditches that come together in a Y and then tie into Spring Creek. It's right there, just past Y, leading to Spring Creek. And so we are evaluating that. We were talking with the engineer to identify what would be necessary to repair that when we go back with the fix. And it is something that may need to be engineered, but we're in communication with LJ. There's a little bit of a mud 60 and mud 7 responsibility there once it comes down. more to come. Don't have any numbers. We just learned about it through all this rain in the last couple of weeks.
Well, that wasn't the sinkhole that was talked about.
No.
Okay.
I kind of thought
Which thing, hold on.
there's a sinkhole somewhere in.
Not in what said was B.
Large sinkhole in mud 46.
Doesn't affect you.
On one of my backyard.
It's not good.
I did want to point out some customer thank yous, both for in office and field staff for being friendly and timely and getting some repairs done and helping them when they called in. So I always like to point those out. I wanted to have kind of going forward in each of the muds, have John come up and talk a little bit about what we've been doing as it relates to not only the strategic communication plan as set forth by the PEC, but also as the overall public education campaign starts to take ground later this year, once the PR firms in place, et cetera, we'd like to kind of have John talk a little bit about what we've been doing, just to start getting us all acclimated to all the great work that he's doing. So with that, here's John.
Even the less great work.
There's Johnny.
Don't point that out.
Thanks. I think Brad really teed it up in that conversation about the report where we noted, we want to engage the resident, right? And that's going to mean some negatives as well as positives, right? In both directions. That's a good thing. So that's really underpinning what we're trying to do right now is just get more frequent communication out there, just more communication period. And that's hitting all our demographics and that's sharing all the information that's pertinent to them, not just the rosy stuff. And the infographic I put on the top of your top of that communications report. Sorry, I failed to note the page it's on, but in your packet, the communications report there at the top, AWWA did some research, and I'm going to read part of that to you. People who recall having received communication from their water utility in the last year report higher satisfaction with their water than those who do not recall any communication. And that research goes on to talk about just communicating with them. It made them feel better about the water quality, about the safety, the reliability, separate from the communication, meaning just hearing from us matters. And so getting these reports out is a great step. And what we've seen from the other MUD reports has been really positive and reinforcing on that front. The email open rates for these is pretty consistent, right around 58% is the average. So a large percentage of folks, when they see something come from you, they want to read it. We're also seeing consistent engagement with our weekly e-blasts. We've got an average open rate there of 40 or 54%, excuse me. So if you're not getting that, I suggest you look at it just to see how, what is a major tool for how we communicate with our residents. So we're seeing about 11,000 folks reading that every week. That's the number that's actually opening and reading. So that's been an important tool for us. We're seeing a nice uptick in website visitation over the last 6-8 months. I want to keep driving that. That's a great tool for us. It's also a real good barometer for how our other communications are working. So that's encouraging. I did note in there that we've been above that in years past, and we go back 3-5 years, trying to figure out why we've seen that dip, but we're working on getting it back up. Marketing, we just finished, we're finishing the second quarter of our strategic plan, which is a focus on water quality. So June we'll start our focus on water conservation, timed with summer, of course. That's more on people's minds, especially with outdoor water use. So you'll see a shift in focus in marketing with our marketing materials there. In fact, the Woodlands Community Magazine June article, it will be on water loss, reporting those statistics. And the smart meters behind that. So yeah, notice some major marketing outlets here. Some encouraging statistics with how folks are engaging with their ads, not just the ads that were thrown out, but they're actually engaging with them. They're looking at them, they're clicking on them. So that's been positive. And that's all I've got, unless you have questions.
Are you gonna hang around for just a minute after we're done?
Certainly.
Just you and I can collaborate for a second?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're still doing the E-Blast that does the watering recommendation. Have we still, I don't know, I used to do that, but did we broke it into different areas even? I mean, the Woodlands is big and it can pour down rain on Bear Branch and not rain in my house.
The other day, we had an inch and a half more in Brogans than we did in my house in Alden Bridge. Yeah. Well,
I
there's,
think that applies to last week. I mean,
we don't have it segregated by, I mean, we have it segregated by mud. That's
yeah,
tough.
kind of a general area because they use the USGS
He's the Harris County Flood Control.
and they have the same,
gauges that
yeah,
I
all
have.
of those have rain gauges and flood gauges.
I'll average those three. I'll look at the evapotranspiration rates and then.
And you've added, I guess is it Facebook, the one with the native plants?
So we have we load a native plant of the weekend here on the E-Blast, and then we pick that up and put that on Facebook. Now we have that Facebook feed on our website. We're always trying to direct from one platform to another.
Yeah.
Get people exposed to the different methods of communicating. We'd like to get Twitter on there as well. Got some issues there.
But I've forwarded those and seen a lot of comments about, obviously there's a lot of people interested in indigenous plants and the water use or lack of water use. So I think those are helpful too.
Yeah, I mean, the philosophy with a lot of that is if we give them something practical, something useful, that they,
Right.
they'll tune into it, right? They like that, that's our hook. And it gets them thinking about water, paying attention to our messages too.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
We skipped Brian, and so we will go back and make up, is that item 12 and 13? Item 13. Thank you, John.
Turner's report's pretty much been legislative session, and the last few months, it hasn't been this far. We're down to the last 2 weeks. Session ends on Memorial Day. I gave an update to the trustees on a number of bills last week. If you are interested, urge you to look at that video. Don't want to belabor all those here, but happy to answer any questions about particular bills that you may have. And of course, once the session's over, we'll have our cumulative summary of the session. That, depending on when your board meetings hit, that'll either be June or July. Our lobbyists put those together in anticipation of AWBD. So we'll see if those are ready for your June board meetings or if they'll go up or we'll have discussion in July.
Good. Questions for our legal counsel? Thank you, Brian.
All right, thank you.
Takes us to item 15, Water Trustees Report. We basically went over all these items. We doing the Vertex one thing today or not?
Audit and trustees.
I will then just briefly mention this, at the one additional thing that we talked about at the Water Agency Trustees meeting last week was the software package from Vertex One. It does look, very interesting. I know the staff is pretty excited about it. It's gotten great reviews from their peer group, others that use the software currently. It looks like there probably could be a 2-year payback in terms of the initial upfront cost. But I think you guys are still kind of doing your due diligence on it.
Yes.
So far, so good, right? Yeah. So that's
integrates very well with Water Smart, like you were mentioning earlier as well.
Mm-hmm.
We have a meeting with them later this week, just to kind of talk to them a little bit about what the trustees shared with us.
So we'll get more updates on that next month, probably. Okay. Other than that, we met for an hour longer to cover the same information last week.
I got a couple questions on your trustee report.
Yes.
I tried to read everything in here about the hold on.
77.
Yeah, so two things with trustee Smith. One was the rate increase, his estimate of 93%. So we're just waiting to hear. So this says we'll hear some about that tomorrow. I mean, Thursday, okay. So that's in addition to what we heard tonight.
That's on the 10-year plan.
Yeah,
Budget was tonight.
the budget was tonight, okay.
What is the cost? What is the cost of capital he's talking about here? What is it now? It says the cost of capital will increase 93%. What does that mean? It's going to go from 2% to 4%. It's going to go from 4% to 8%.
Well, he identified what the 630 million of infrastructure renewal over the next 10 years would equate to the average bill. In terms of rates. That's what he did. That's what it was. An evaluation to identify what the rates would be, which is, I think, what SDRA is putting together.
This is tax rates, not
So it's not cost of capital, it's water and sewer rates.
or sewer rates.
Well, to pay for the capital. To pay for the, to pay for all the infrastructure renewal.
But if they're bonds, do they come out of the water rate or they come out of the tax bill?
What revenue bond?
Correct.
Yours will be in your water rate. They will, SDRA will bill, the MUDs, through the wholesale rate.
Okay, so we'll hear more about this tomorrow. Sure. That's it Thursday. It's gonna be Thursday.
Don't rush it.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, but
Okay. On page 79, the first paragraph talks about concerns over the new consolidated wastewater treatment plant. Is that just a mistake?
Well,
It's probably proposed new consolidated.
I don't know that those are his words. I think he's just talking about the new wastewater treatment plant. I don't know that consolidated was his words.
Because, I mean,
And the trustee meeting, certainly, nobody's saying it will be a consolidated waste, nobody officially is saying that. And
well, I mean, officially, we're saying it's not gonna be consolidated.
not anytime in the foreseeable future.
Right.
Could be 30 years from now.
Yeah, but that's not
Either,
what we're funding now is not a consolidated plan.
That's,
either a misquote.
this is somebody
No.
from the public who was speaking at the meeting.
Nobody corrected him that it wasn't a consolidated
You
plan.
can't do that. You can't correct people and argue with them while they're making their comments to the board.
It's not a discussion.
Okay. Okay.
People can
So,
say,
so I mean, this is just another highlight that we need to, our communications, somebody thinks we're building a consolidated plan. And we're not.
Well, you could.
or it's a typo. I don't know. I don't remember him saying consolidated.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's,
Good catch, though. I don't think you said that, though.
okay.
I don't know that it matters, but
Yeah. It can.
Look at.
whether he said that or not.
The last thing is maybe a rabbit hole we don't want to go down, but I read all this stuff about the excess funds. And I have no clue what's going on. Are we okay? Are we not okay? Is there still contention between Smith and the rest of the trustees, or?
The idea that if there's extra money in the budget or the extra money left over at the end of the year, that we would roll it forward to pay for other projects, or in the case of this money that was actually
Right.
used to pay for a project that was budgeted for 2022, but we were waiting on, parts or labor or whatever to actually complete it. I mean, there was no monkey business as the implication seemed to be coming through. It was just normal process, the kinds of things that have happened for years where the money went to designated budgeted spending items. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought last month you guys were pretty clear. There was a delay on, was it generator, compressor? Generator, and, you know, it all made perfect sense.
Seems
There's
to.
a very defined process procedure for this.
Each side.
Okay, I mean, it was, you know, two and a half pages in here about that excess fund issue, and I finished it and I thought, what? Okay, thanks. Wow.
All right, any other questions about the trustee meeting? Need to go into closed session? So that crossed off items 16 and 17. Matters for placement on future agenda. Anybody? Anything else before we adjourn? Comments, questions? All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.